Once again, welcome to Kahoot 101 Webinar Wednesdays. We're going to be talking about how to get started with Kahoot today. My name is Zainab. I am your host and also a Senior Customer Success Manager with Kahoot here. And this webinar series happens every fourth Wednesday of the month at 11 Central. The idea is to make sure that everyone has resources to get started with Kahoot and you know how to navigate through the platform, create Kahoots, and host them. There's also a more detailed or advanced level session that happens every second Wednesday, and it's called the Webinar Deep Dive Series. And you can register for them both at kahoot.com. You can go ahead and keep that link saved. It's going to be the same space where we advertise all of the newer topics. With the deep dive, it's a different subject every month. So with the 101s, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a wonderful background that they put in place for, or the theme that they put in place for the FIFA World Cup. I don't know if anyone's watching, but United States is playing Netherlands tonight. And also, Kahoot is a fun platform that is used by 97% of the Fortune 500s. We're a global company. The headquarters is in Norway, but our team here is based out of Austin. And then we have hundreds of employees all across Europe and North and South America. So that's a fun introduction to Kahoot as a company. Now, we told you where we are. Where are you? Find yourself on the world map. On your screen as a player, you should be seeing a pin right now in the center of your screen, and then you can move the image around to make sure that the pin falls in the right place. I made some effort to find an image that was actually labeled with the countries because people kept ending up in the Atlantic Ocean. So let's see where our audience is. So most of the people are in the US, which makes a lot of sense. Some a lot in the Northeast, so it's not as hot for you as it is for us. And then we have someone joining from Spain. Thank you. It's late in the evening for you, so thank you for joining us. Next up, I have a question for you. How well do you believe you know Kahoot? Okay, so 67% of the audience, or 8 people, have played Kahoot. 1 has hosted and knows Kahoot pretty well. And we have 3 people who've played, hosted, and love it, which is amazing because people who know Kahoot well and still join the 101 session are very, very dear to us. For everyone else, I hope you learn a lot from the session today. I do want to get an idea of what it is that you're looking for. But first, I have another question for you. Do you currently have a Kahoot subscription? This is going to give me an idea of what features you already have access to. I will be demoing a lot of features that you may not have access to, but I believe Galilea has put a bunch of links in chat. You can go ahead and copy that entire message or take a screenshot of it, and it has links to where you can talk to our account management team to get access to more features, or email the CSM team to learn more about how to use the ones that you already have access to. So we have 33% of the audience who has a free account, 25% doesn't have an account at all, and then we have 42% of the audience who have a paid account. So you'll probably see a lot of the features that I talk about already in your account. And then, sticking with the theme of soccer, where did the term soccer originate? And it's a tricky one.
We're getting
It was a tricky one.
Music.
Oh yeah, I thank you for pointing that out. Let me go ahead and turn down the music.
Thank you.
So, because we here in America call it soccer, a lot of people believe that the term soccer originated here in the US, but it was actually a nickname created by Oxford students in the late 1800s in England, because they had rugby football and then they had association football, which is what soccer is today. So they would call it different nicknames, and soccer was one of the nicknames that they had to differentiate between rugby and association football. And eventually the terminology became rugby and football, just football. And then for us, our football is different. And then the nickname that they had created in England became the official name for us, because we wanted our version of football to be football and the English version of football to be something different. So we turned their nickname into the official name in the US, but it actually came around in Oxford back in the 1800s. So it is still from England. So let's take a look at the scoreboard. Jay, at the top, you not only answered correctly, you answered super quickly, because you see 936 out of 1,000 means you answered very fast. The point system works based on two things. You have to be correct, and then the score decreases linearly over time. So you also have to be really fast. Carol, Paolo, Kathy, and Lorianne also got the answer right, but they took a little bit longer than Jay. So the idea is to not only be correct, but be fast, which from a learning perspective means that you were paying attention and you were able to quickly put in the response. So what are we going to be doing today, or what are we going to be talking about today? We will experience the training through a live Kahoot, which is what we're doing right now. You saw how to get in the game, how to join, the different options, how questions feel. So as a participant, how do you respond to those different kinds of questions? We'll also learn how to navigate through the platform. So I'll hop into the Kahoot backend, show you how to go through the different options in there of storing your Kahoots, navigating to different sections, creating a Kahoot, and then hosting it live, as well as self-paced, which is a survey model. And hopefully we'll have fun doing it. And before we launch into all the information that I have planned to share with you, I want to ask, what are you hoping to get out of this training session? So whenever you registered and you committed an hour of your day to be spent with us, what were you hoping to walk away with? Any specific items that you wanted to learn about, any specific use cases or implementations of Kahoot that you wanted to learn about? Throw them in here, and I will try to make sure that I have as many questions or as many topics covered as possible. Also, to provide a little bit of commentary on what's going on, this is an open-ended type question, and it gives you 250 characters to put in your response, questions, feedbacks, ideas into the screen. So an open-ended question type gives you a little bit more characters to write your response. If you didn't need a longer response, just a quick input, you could do a word cloud, which is 20 characters. And all of the responses that are put in by the audience are automatically stored in our report, so that you don't have to take notes, you don't have to remember things. You can just look at the report for that Kahoot that's automatically generated at the end of the session. And you'll be able to keep track of what people were sharing or thinking, or what questions they had for you. So in terms of what people want to learn out of this session, game modes, setting up new Kahoots, creating and using Kahoot, having a better understanding, learning the basics of hosting for company trainings, events, identifying some tips and tricks. Someone would like to engage employees to register for events. And then, a new one popped in, and I love when that happens. So if you were already typing when the timer ran out, it still lets you put in your response. So new, want to learn as much as possible, playing music and videos in the background. So a lot of this is going to be focused on learning the basics, some tips and tricks, game modes, and how to host events through Kahoot. So I'll try to keep that theme in mind and engaging employees. Next up, I have another football soccer question. The original name of American football was dash football, that differentiated it from rugby and soccer football. So there was a word right behind football. Before we started calling it just football and the English version just soccer, ours had a little bit of an identifier behind the football. Ta-da! gridiron. Oh, well, no one got it right. So let's review the answers. This is the type answer question type. So you tell the system what the correct answer is already. And then whenever people put in their responses, you can choose for some of the other questions to be correct. So people said US football, hand football, league football, European football, rugby, and I don't know. I feel like awarding scores to the person who said I don't know just for their honesty. But it's called gridiron football. And unfortunately, no one got this question right. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question. The scoreboard remains the same. And so talking a little bit about Kahoot itself, what do we have? We have 10 different question types in Kahoot to engage your audience. So whenever you're building a Kahoot, you can engage people, you can keep it fun, have them do an input. It's not just you throwing information towards the audience, it's also them giving input to you and responding to the information that you're sharing. How do we do that? 10 different question types. 5 for testing knowledge, so they have a concept of right or wrong, and 5 for collecting opinions. So they don't have a concept of right or wrong. There are no points associated to these bottom 5 questions. It's just for getting input from the audience. So in the testing knowledge segment, up here on the top, you've already experienced a quiz type question, which is where we answered England, America, Ireland. So you pick the right response out of multiple options. You can have anywhere between 2 to 6 options. These options can be words or images, and that is your quiz type question. It could have one correct response or multiple correct responses. True or false is pretty self-explanatory. Put in the statement, tell the system whether it's true or false. We just experienced type answer, where you are basically doing a fill in the blank kind of situation. You put in a statement and then they have to put in the response, which can be pre-fed into the system as the correct answer, or you can review live in the game and select responses as correct. So if you said, where is the headquarters of Kahoot? And you put in the correct responses, Oslo, but in the responses, people said Norway, which is still correct. So in the live game, you can select Norway as one of the right responses. The slider is a numbers type question. We'll experience it a little bit later in this recording, in this meeting, but you're going to see that it allows you to pick a number off of a sliding scale, and it has this really nice animation that comes with it. Very game show kind of experience. So any numbers type questions, like when was something launched, or what year did gridiron football become a thing, like 1940s. Anything that is a numbers type question can go into the slider. And then for the puzzle type question, great application would be processes. So if you want to test people on what the process for something is, you put in the right steps, they will appear jumbled to the audience and they'll need to fix the order. It could also be greater versus smaller priority arrangement. It could be a chronological order. Anything that needs to fall into a certain order and can appear jumbled to the audience. It can have 3 to 4 different pieces. I personally really like using it for definitions or statements or terminology that it just appears jumbled and people put it back in the right order. I could just put it in a slide, but it's more fun to have them manipulate the information and work with it. So it's a different way of engaging with the same data. So these 5 have the concept of right versus wrong answer, which means you can assign points to them. Standard points are 1,000, double points are 2,000, wonderful for shaking up a scoreboard. And you can also choose for the system to tell them what the right or wrong answer was, but no points at all. So less competitive, more just about learning something. On the collect opinion side, poll is pretty self-explanatory. We've experienced it a couple of times during this already. My favorite part of poll for Kahoot is that it shows you not only the demographic percentage breakdown of your audience, but also the number of people that said something. We've experienced drop-in in a map format as an icebreaker question, but there are other really fun applications, such as if you were doing a team meeting or a team workshop, you could say, what are the priorities for Q3 or Q4, and put in a few options on the screen, like a screenshot, and people can put a pin. So it could be a visual poll. You can also use this to train people on processes. What part of the process does ABC happen in? Upload your own process chart or flow, and people can put a pin on the right part of the process. Same thing with equipment training. If you have physical equipment, put in the diagram, people can point out parts ABC. Open-ended you experience when you were telling me what you'd like to learn from the session, 250 characters. Word cloud is a shorter version where you only get 20 characters, but it appears like big words on the screen, creates a cloud. Any words that are used multiple times will appear larger than the other. So it's a good visual brain map of what the audience is thinking. And then in this segment, brainstorm, my absolute favorite. This lets you collaborate on responses with your audience. So whenever you're doing a poll, you're limiting the audience to the options that you're providing. It's wonderful from a quantitative perspective because it immediately breaks down the audience responses into percentages and numbers, but it's still options that are coming from you. If you use Brainstorm, you can have people give you options. So you can ask for anywhere between 1 to 5 ideas submitted per person. And then you can go through these options, talk through them. They appear on the screen like the open-ended responses did. And you can then ask them to vote. So the options come from the people, and then they also get to vote on it. So you can walk away with a decision made. So it literally does what the name is. It lets you brainstorm with your team and then make collective decisions. We'll take a look at that also a little bit later in the training. There's a brainstorm question for you to experience. So that is all of the engaging elements of you getting input from the audience. What about you sharing information with the audience? So you can present data through Kahoot. You can go ahead and import your PowerPoint, Google Slides, Canva, PDF. You could build something in Lucidcharts, Keynote. As long as it's saved as PowerPoint or PDF, you can go ahead and import it and then move the slides around so that from a training perspective, when you launch the training, you have different slides with information, then a question pops up, then a few more slides, and then another question pops up. So it's a more seamless experience, and you're having people engage throughout the delivery of content instead of just waiting in the start, having a review in the start or waiting all the way down till the end of the day to have a quiz or a review session. Just put everything inside Kahoot, import the slides or training reading material in there, present as well as ask questions from inside Kahoot. So that import feature is available, but also you can build slides from scratch inside Kahoot as well. We have 10 different PowerPoint style layouts. This, what you're seeing on the screen, it's itself a slide with an image in the center and text at the bottom. But the image is also a screenshot of another slide that we built that had more of a different format. So there are 10 different formats that you can use. And the best part about slides is there's no timer. So you can spend as much time as you want talking about whatever the content of the training is. You can also leave this Kahoot right here, as I'm going to in a second, and move on to a different platform or a different screen in your computer and go through that training and then come back to the Kahoot game. Once you've created your Kahoot with whatever slides you needed in there and the questions that you needed in there, in terms of hosting, you can host a Kahoot live, which is a real-time engagement, very similar to what we're doing right now, in 7 different ways. So what we're doing right now with all of us present is called the classic mode of playing Kahoot, where you log in, put in your name or email, and you are playing against other players. So the scoreboard has individual names. There's also a team mode where you can put in your name and email, but also select which team you want to be a part of. The host can decide how many teams there are going to be and what they're called, or they can leave it up to the audience to name the teams. And then the scoreboard and leaderboard will be the team names. So the podium positions, everything will be team names. Individual scores will be collated to build the team score. You're still using your own devices. The player experience is very similar. You can be anywhere in the world, but then the system will automatically collate different scores for team members and show you the team score. And then there are 5 additional game modes that are available in the platform. They're new. We're adding more and more ways of playing Kahoot, and those are they feel like games instead of a training or a quiz. And it's an excellent way of learning. So one more question for you. How many question types does Kahoot offer? And here's us experiencing a slider type question. This really nice animation at the bottom right now. And then also when it shows you the answer, another bunch of really nice animation. While you're answering this question, I saw that someone asked in chat, about the PowerPoint. So whenever the PowerPoint gets imported into Kahoot, every slide turns into an image of itself. So it's not editable when it comes inside Kahoot, and Kahoot's not going to make any changes to it. So whatever the theme was, whatever the text on it was, it's all going to stay the same. The correct answer is 10. There are 10 different question types in Kahoot, and looks like almost everyone got it right. And the scoreboard has changed. The new scoreboard indicates that Jay is holding strong in the top position at 1900 points. And now everyone else, you can see the arrow sign that shows their positions have gone up, they've climbed up a few ranks. So Paolo, Kathy, Melissa, and Chris have all climbed up from their previous positions. So showtime, we're gonna hop out of this Kahoot. The Kahoot game will stay wherever it is. It's gonna stay paused right here on this slide screen, and I'm gonna go into the Kahoot platform at the back end. So whenever I log into my Kahoot, this is what it looks like. I've uploaded, or as an admin, I uploaded the logo. So this is actually my company's logo. This could be yours. It says, you know, I work at Kahoot, so it says Kahoot, but it could say anything else based on whatever you upload. So for example, if I were to hop into my private space, it's a 360 logo. So you need to upload the logo to make it a little bit more personal, but there are a lot of personalization options available, similar to me having my own picture here in the private workspace, and then the company logo here on the team workspace. And what do workspaces mean? So the private workspace is a space for everyone it's a free space provided to everyone who has a team account, and then it is completely cut off from the team licenses. So if you had Kahoot 360 Pro for Teams, Spirit Premium, Presenter for Teams, all of those will have 2 workspaces. It's a little bit confusing for new users, so I like pointing it out. Whenever you log into your team license, just go in here and make sure that if you're doing any games outside of work with friends and family, or just you are playing through Discover tab, ready to play games, use the private space so the reports don't go into the team content. And whenever you're building anything for work, or you're trying to host something for work, you want to be in the team workspace, because this is where all the shared content is going to be. The library in the team workspace has a team folder, and everyone that has a license to your subscription has access to this team folder, except limited members. But that's an exception available if you didn't want to give someone access. All the members, admins, owner, they'll all have access to the team folder, and it makes it so easy to collaborate on building Kahoots, being able to see everything that's available in the company library, and then not have to share individual Kahoots with people. You can just organize this into different folders, make sure that the folders make sense for your company. It could be subject, department, the kind of training, any organization that you want. And then you can build folder within folder to get as organized as you need. For example, with me, I have a folder for Kahoot 101 webinars, and then here all of the different Kahoots that have been used throughout the year for the Kahoot 101 sessions. So it's pretty easy for me to find in my account what I'm looking for. If I didn't want to share something, like if it was something that was built just for me or for my use, and not available for the rest of the team, I would put it in the My folder. The admins would still have access to it, but not the other members in the account. So I hop over to the team workspace and then to the library to see the content that's available for my team. This is also where I'm going to save all of my materials so other team members have access to it. And if I wanted to just have a fun time with my team, just host a icebreaker or a happy hour trivia, anything for a social event, my first choice would be to go to the Discover tab and pick from one of the hundreds of thousands of ready-to-play Kahoots available in here. So I can go in and say, I am looking for a 90s trivia. There you go. There is a Back to the 90s music trivia that has been played by 341,000 players. There's also Halloween music played by 35,000 players. So there's a lot of material that's just in there, and you can go in and create a copy of this to edit this and have a version for yourself. You can shorten it, make it longer, combine a few together. A lot of the questions that I asked during the Kahoot 101 that you just experienced, they're from the Discover tab. So I'll go in, search for a specific topic, see the different questions that are being asked, and put them in my own Kahoot. So I will go ahead and either start this and assign it to myself or host it live. Or I can go ahead and so assign it to the audience or start this and host this live. So use as is or edit and create your own version. You can search for a lot of different topics. Most of the stuff that you will see here is ready to use as is. There are a few pieces that will require you to purchase. So what happens is we have something called a marketplace, and we have something called Access Pass. Access Pass is a very inexpensive premium library subscription, which gives you access to a bunch of content that's created by either Kahoot Studio ourselves or by verified creators that have gone through a QA process with us. So it's higher quality because it's gone through that QA process. The bulk of the Discover tab games are games that people created and they decided to make it public. So then they're available on the search pages. They're still very, very fun, but the Access Pass content and the marketplace content is obviously better quality. So if I were to host something for my team and just wanted to have like a Friday happy hour social, coffee social, get my team together, my first preference would be to go to Discover and pick one of these games. I could even go to one of our partners. So there's literally someone at NASA that sits down and creates these and then has them uploaded to the NASA's official Kahoot account. Same thing for Marvel, Nat Geo, a lot of these amazing partners. So I can use this, or I can say, okay, I want to build my own. But even when I decide to build my own, I go into creating a Kahoot, I still don't have to start from scratch. I could start from a blank canvas or from one of the templates that are available inside Kahoot. But again, my preference as someone who's been using Kahoot for a while would be to go into the Kahoot question generator. This is a AI assistant that is using or powered by the Microsoft Azure OpenAI, and you can give it a topic for it to give you questions ready-made with the correct responses and options for incorrect responses all ready to go. For example, if I were to search, let's say I'm doing like a fun event with new hires, and I want to talk a little bit about what is Kahoot or whatever the company is. So if you work at Home Depot, Four Seasons, any corporation out there, that has a public profile, you can go ahead and put your own company's name, and it's going to go ahead and give you questions along with answers. So what is Kahoot? It is a game-based learning platform. I can add this question in. What do players need to join a Kahoot game? They just need a device with internet access. A fancy name would also be nice. What type of quizzes can be created on Kahoot? What is the maximum number of players that can join a Kahoot game? That truly just depends on what subscription you're on, what color represents correct answers. So all of these different questions are available. You can go ahead and add them. And then if you wanted to add questions about a different subject, you can go and add question and go back to the question generator and give it a different topic. You can also search through all of the Kahoot questions that exist out there. So you can search through all of the public Kahoots or just stuff that's inside your library. For example, I know I've asked questions about how well you know Kahoot. So if I search for this within my own library, these are all the times that I have asked a question that use the terms how well. So if I asked a couple of questions in a different Kahoot, then I can just go ahead and put in the similar keywords to bring those questions in here. I don't have to recreate them from scratch. Another way that I really like using this is I'll go to Discover tab, create duplicates of a bunch of Kahoots that I like, and then come into my Kahoot creator, search through my library with the keywords that I want, and basically just pull those questions from the 3 or 4 Kahoots that I've duplicated from the Discover tab. Helps me build a brand new customized Kahoot without having to come up with questions from scratch. But I can add questions from scratch if needed. So you'll have all of the question types listed here. You can add them whenever you need, or you can add them and then move them around as needed. Whenever you're adding questions from the AI generator, it does go ahead and add them in the quiz type format. We're working on adding more question types for the AI assistant, but right now it adds it in the quiz type. But it's very easy to change question types. So this is a question that I got from the AI assistant. It's set up as a question type quiz right now, quiz type question right now. I can switch it over to, let's say, type answer. And I can use this statement. I can say, what do players need to join a Kahoot game? We can say players need a dash with internet access to join a Kahoot game. So we switch that over, and then the correct answer is device. Another option could be a computer, a laptop, a cell phone. So you can give a bunch of options to the system. And then, of course, whenever you're playing the question, you can review the answers to select other questions or other responses as correct as well. So switching between question types, super easy. The next thing is picking how long people have to answer that question, whether it has standard points, which is 1,000, or double, or no points. And then you're ready to move on to the next question. So we've talked about the question types already. A few tips that I have for building a Kahoot, I like breaking it down into 4 elements. So for me, the first one is the setup of your Kahoot. So whenever you log in here, you hit create, you start building a Kahoot, go to the settings, give it a proper name. This is player facing. It does get displayed on the screen when the Kahoot starts. So it has to be something that you're okay sharing with the audience. And then if there's internal information, it can go into description. You can add a thumbnail. So your Kahoot backend account looks really nice with proper thumbnails for different Kahoots. You can add an image from your computer by uploading it, or you can search through our Getty Images and Unsplash library here. So you can give it a topic and it'll give you responses, or you can upload from your own library. You can then decide where to save it. So team folder, whenever you need others to have access. This is where you put a YouTube link for whenever you want to play a video in the lobby. So I had those little penguin, a Madagascar clip playing in the beginning. This is where I put the link in for that. If I didn't want to play a video, I could also just choose the music that the Kahoot's going to have in the background. What language will all the prompts and buttons be in? Visibility is just for my organization, or is it unlisted, which means if I grab the URL and give it to someone else, they'll be able to access that exact Kahoot. They'll need to have that link though. It's not still searchable on the Discover tab. It's not public, but it allows you to share with others through that link. And do I want others to be able to duplicate my content or not? So that's your settings. And that's the first thing that I would go to as the first element of building out a Kahoot. The second would be the theme. So what is the look and feel of your Kahoot? It could be very corporate. So this is a theme that has an actual photo of us. It's a training that happened in the Austin office. That's me. That's Galilea. So we have the ability to upload your own images to create a background and make it very relevant and customized to our own brand and our own theme. Our own company. So you can go ahead and build your own theme with your own custom image, logo, and colors, or you can go ahead and pick from one of the themes that are available inside the platform. For example, the World Cup theme that I'm using in our live Kahoot. Most of the time, it will impact the background of the Kahoot and music. But for some of our modern themes, you'll see that it also changes the font style and the colors of the answer options, which otherwise are not customizable. So these are really fun and they relate with whatever's happening in the world. We launch new ones all the time. So this can immediately just add an uplifting feel to your Kahoot. So you have settings, themes, then you add your questions, however you want to, from the AI generator, question bank, or from scratch. And then you can add your slides. That's the last part, adding your slides, which can be, again, built from within the platform. So you can have different styles and you can add media to it, or you can go ahead and upload them from the computer, or whatever device you're on. So you have an option to upload up till 80 megabits at a time and about 100 slides per Kahoot. Whenever you have your slides uploaded, you can then go ahead and add media, and you can add media to all of your questions as well. These could be images from the Getty Image and Unsplash library that we have. I personally love using GIFs and stickers because I think they just add a lot of life to your content. And you can also bring in data by searching directly for a video in the built-in Kahoot YouTube library. So you can search through the entire database for videos, or with Vimeo, it's a little bit different. You'll open up Vimeo in a separate window, find and grab the link and paste it in here. So videos right now can be embedded from YouTube and Vimeo. If you don't already have content on those two channels, you can create a free account and add your videos for free as unlisted videos, and it'll give you a link that'll work over here, but your content will still not be available to other YouTube users who are searching for specific things. It's not going to search up in, it's not going to turn up in the search. And here's the option to upload stuff from your own computer. It specifically says images because the upload right now is limited to images, not videos. It's a common request and we're working on it. So you have settings, themes, adding questions, and adding slides. Once you're done, your Kahoot is completely built. You now get to go and host the Kahoot. So you go and find wherever you save the Kahoot. For example, as I mentioned, it's in my webinar Kahoot 101 folder. This is the one I'm using today. If I wasn't able to schedule a live meeting with everyone, if people weren't able to make it to the live training, or they have different schedules and it's hard to coordinate because they're in different parts of the world, then I can assign this to them. I don't always have to have a real-time engagement and a giant meeting on the calendar. Assigning it means that they get to play the Kahoot through a link. They'll receive the link, and up until a deadline, if I choose to have one, I could also just not have a deadline at all. They will get the link. They'll go through the game. They're kind of going through it on their own. So if other people have played before them, they'll see the names of who else has played, and they can move through the game at their own pace. With a live engagement, there's a timer. There's always a timer because we need people to move at the same pace. But with a assigned Kahoot, you can turn off the timer as well. So they can take as much time as they need for playing through a Kahoot, which is also why it's called self-paced. You can still have the player identifier, which captures the email address, turned on. You can have personalized learning in assigned versions, which means that if you're using, as a player, if you're using the iOS or Android apps for Kahoot, whatever questions you get wrong, the system will remind you to practice them at the end of the game. So it's going to say, hey, you got these 3 questions wrong. Do you want to practice? Make sure you've learned what the right information was before you move away from this. And it'll continue reminding until you go through it, or just say that you don't want to practice. So it's a really good way of reinforcing knowledge. You can randomize answer orders or turn on the nickname generator, which is a super fun way of keeping things anonymous. Instead of you putting in your name, you get to spin the wheel and you get 3 choices to pick a name from random, like, combinations of adjectives and animal names. So you can be the silver gazelle or the happy llama. I love being the happy llama. Whenever you create the assignment, it's basically a report that's currently empty because no one's played through it yet. So if you look here on the left side, we've hopped out of the library tab automatically into the reports tab. This is an empty report. The name is exactly the name of the Kahoot that we created the assignment for, and it's empty right now. So we need to get people to come and play. We can either grab this link and put it in an email or Slack, MS Team, however I want to communicate with people, or I can assign this through an email so that Kahoot sends an email out. And I can select my email address from here. It'll let me customize a little bit of the email that goes out. It's a short 250 character email. I can send a preview to myself to see before I send it out to an audience. And once the invitation is sent, my name gets listed here at the bottom. So all of the people that you put in there, and if you have a lot of people, you can copy paste their emails. You can save them as a list inside of Kahoot. You can also upload the list. If there are a lot of people, you can upload that list through Excel. And then they all get listed here. I really like using the email invitation as opposed to the link, because whenever you're doing the email invitation, it will continue to show you if that person started or not. And if you're coming up on the deadline and they haven't started playing the game yet, you can send them a reminder or send everybody a reminder to make sure that they're all going through the Kahoot. whenever they do, like as soon as one person goes through the Kahoot, their responses get populated here. So the reports in Kahoot are broken down into players and questions. And I'll quickly show you what the report for this game looks like as soon as we end it, the one that we're playing, so that you have an idea. But you have a player performance tab that shows exactly what each player did, how they answered questions. And you have a question performance tab that shows you how well did people do on a certain question, or what responses did the entire audience base provide for a certain question. So it's a great way of being able to manipulate the information. And then you can also just download it into Excel and work through that data. You can also take an embed link for assigned Kahoots and put it in your LMS system. So if you have another place where people go through training, either reading through the content or watching certain videos, they can then go and take a Kahoot quiz embedded inside that LMS platform. So that was a lot of information. I'm going to take a quick recap. We navigate through the platform by choosing the right workspace, which is either team space or private space, depending on what we're trying to do. We can go into the Discover tab to find materials that are ready to play, and we can use any of the free stuff, either as is or create a duplicate. And we can also use some of the paid stuff by getting a Access Pass subscription or buying one-off content from the marketplace. All of the materials that we have are going to be saved in the library. If it's just for my use, it goes into my folder. If it's for team use, it goes into the team folder. Whenever you're ready with a Kahoot, you've created it, you can go ahead and either assign it to create an assignment that turns into an empty report, and eventually it gets populated with the responses of the people that have played it. Or you can start it live, which is what we've done in the other game. And starting it live gives you a bunch of options. So there are 7 different game modes for whenever you want to host it live. The classic mode is what we're using today. The team mode is very similar to classic. It just adds the component of being part of a team. And then these wonderful things here at the bottom are the additional game modes, which are very gamified. They literally feel like playing a cell phone game, but you are engaging with your own content while playing those games. So you have to know the materials, or you can learn the materials through these different versions. There's a video available on our YouTube channel that explains exactly how these work, and they're super fun. Please give them a try. I'm going to go ahead and hop back into our live Kahoot now. And a quick heads up that I like giving the audience is we've been away from the game for a while. So your cell phone screen may have gone dark. Whenever it does go dark, for a lot of the devices, it wants to conserve bandwidth and energy. So it will disconnect you from the game. Go back to the Kahoot screen, open up the Kahoot game so that it comes back to life. It might show you a reconnecting sign or a reconnect button. So when you get back into the game is when I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And then there's another question for you. And it's a really good way of making sure that you have your audience back online, because you don't want them to lose time whenever you're getting back and having a question pop up. You don't want them to lose time and not be able to answer quickly because their devices were blank. So self-paced Kahoots would be a great tool for what would be a good application for self-paced Kahoots. We're not scheduling a meeting. Everyone can work on it at their own time and pace. So could we use it for pre-training evaluations, post-training surveys, anything that you don't want to set up a trainer session for? Yes, all of it. All of these are correct responses. So you can use it for pre-training evaluations, post-training surveys, anything that is non-trainer led. As a starting point, I think anything that you're sharing through email right now with your audience, any updates on processes, any updates on content, switch over from email to Kahoot quickly, because with emails, you don't really get insight into whether the audience read through the whole thing and if they understood it. But when you're sending it through Kahoot, you can ask questions to make sure that they are understanding it. So the responses to the questions will show you how well they understood it. You'll know exactly who to follow up with if the answers were wrong. And you'll also see if people went through the whole thing or not. So scoreboard has changed, and Lorianne has climbed up to the top, pushing Jay down to the 2nd position. This is just a screenshot showing the additional game modes for live interaction. Again, highly encourage you guys to play through these, because these are super fun, a really great way of doing review sessions at the end of the day or refresher sessions at the start of next day to make sure that everyone is feeling on the same page with the information that was shared. So I know Galilea has been answering questions in chat, but any other questions that you guys want to ask, now would be a really good time to throw them in here. So a lot of really fun questions in the chat today. And Leslie asked, how do we upload presentations? There's a instruction manual in there that Gally has posted. So if you don't have any more questions, I can move on to the closing for today. So a quick poll for everyone. I had fun. I don't know if you did. I hope you did. How well do you feel like you know Kahoot now? Did we learn something new? Is it getting a little bit better? One more thing that I wanted to show you. So whenever you ask a question, you don't always have to wait till the end of the timer. So I left a huge chunk of time on the timer for this one because pretty much everyone's answered, but it still has like 50 seconds left. Do I sit here for 50 seconds making small talk? Or I can go ahead and hit the skip button here on the top right corner. So whenever you want to move through a Kahoot faster, or you don't think there are going to be any more responses, just hit skip and it runs through the rest of the timer. So 44% of the audience feels slightly better. They know Kahoot slightly better. 56% of the audience feels that they know Kahoot a lot better, which is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that everyone was able to get something new from this conversation. And just in that same vein of thought, what is one key takeaway from today's session? So something new that you learned that you were completely unaware of, any new idea that you got, or any real life event that you're thinking, now that I've seen all of the things that Kahoot can do in this session, I can use Kahoot for that. So any thoughts that you have would be super helpful for us to learn from, and then also all of the other people on the call can learn from them as well. Let's take a look. So we have 7 answers submitted. I'm going to click on show answers. The variations in question options. I highly recommend using a combination of different question types. Every question can be asked as a quiz type question or a true or false, but you have so many options. And using a combination of different question types makes it a lot more engaging because the audience is, they're interacting with the information in different ways. So more likely to remember things. Questions can be translated into other languages, importing PowerPoints into Kahoot, difference between the profile and how to import slides, your trick about creating a Kahoot setup, theme, question, slides. Well, this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So you have a lot of stuff that you learned. Use for pre-session info as well. So you can send out materials before they even come to your training. Kahoot could be a great tool for HR perspective, training, onboarding, engagement. I think onboarding is a really big use case for us from a new hire perspective. There's actually a recording on our YouTube channel for how to do onboarding through Kahoot, and it has very practical tips on what you can do. So it talks about pre-onboarding things that you can build inside Kahoot, onboarding courses that you can build inside Kahoot. It's from one of our deep dive webinars, so it would be a great thing to look at. And the next deep dive webinar is going to happen on August 9th. Galilea will be hosting it, and you can join her to learn how to level up your professional content in Kahoot with AI-assisted features. So what I did today was a quick demo of how the AI assistant works, but she's going to be going into a lot more detail on how you can use it for different kinds of content and whatever the best practices for AI usage in Kahoot is going to be, as well as sharing some of the newer features that we're going to be launching around AI. We're closing today's session. We're almost at the end. We just want to get your feedback on what you would like to learn more in future webinars so we can make sure that the time that you spend with us, this investment is worthwhile. Also, this is a brainstorm type question, so I wanted to make sure you get to experience what a brainstorm feels like. It's going to ask you for 2 ideas per person. Each idea box is like 75 characters of text. You can put in your idea, hit submit, put in your second idea, hit submit again. we'll see all the responses on the screen, and then we can vote on those responses. Gally says, love the gifts, Z. This is how I feel. This is what I feel like doing when I'm like, what would you like to learn? So very, very nice representation. You all will enjoy the AI session with Gally next week because her gift game is strong. And also know that even though it's asking you for multiple responses, it's asking you to put in 2 ideas. You don't always have to, so you can put in 1 idea and then just submit and not put in the other ideas. You can ask as the host anywhere between 1 to 5 responses. And then it's up to the audience if they want to give all 5, or sometimes people might not have 5 ideas. So you can submit as many responses as you want. We're coming up on time. We're only 3 minutes away from our cutoff. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the rest of the timer here. Anyone who's still typing a response will be able to submit it. And the system does have its own AI, so it brings similar words together. Let's see. So anything and everything, absolutely. Kahoot can be used for anything and everything. At this point, I'm happy to already learn about what you already have, anything useful, anything new, company's annual meeting. So this is a good one. We have a recording from a deep dive on how to host town halls and team meetings through Kahoot. That's on our YouTube channel. So if you Google YouTube, Kahoot, town halls, it's going to pop up, or Gally can give you a link to our business YouTube channel. And that explains how to host fun, engaging, informative team meetings and town halls through Kahoot. Team games, we can definitely do another session on all of the new different game modes that work in teams because they are very fun and engaging. Puzzle question examples, I can include that in the next 101 session. Tips for AI when creating, August 9th, 9 a.m. Central, and you'll get a lot of tips. And more examples of employee engagement. Got it. So we'll keep this in mind and we'll incorporate this into our future deep dive topics as well as our Kahoot 101s. I'm going to skip voting for this question, but here's where the voting button is. So if you needed to walk away from this discussion with a decision made, like you needed to be like, no, just give me one topic that I must host the next webinar on, I would ask you to vote. And then based on the votes, I would actually have a decision. So it makes it really easy to have a discussion, have everybody's input, and get a decision made. 11:59, and we're closing up shop here. Thank you so much for spending all of this time. Your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you investing all of this in learning about Kahoot. I hope you have a lot of fun. Happy Kahooting. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. So please do reach out to us with questions as well as ideas. Or if you just want to do a little bit of brainstorming about Kahoot, we're also available. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and hit next so you can see the podium. Paolo in the 3rd position, Jay in the 2nd position, and I think I know who's starts with an M. Lorianne. There you go. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and grab the link to this podium and put it in chat just in case you want to brag about it on LinkedIn or your internal Slack channels. But thank you so much for being engaged and making this so much fun. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you again next month.